Hey y'all, my name's Jared Atal. I'm an audio engineer here in Nashville, Tennessee. Today we're going to be talking about doing how I like to track vocals and how I like to stay organized and all that. I'm going to kind of do a couple videos on this. But to start out with, we're going to dive into this session. I'm going to talk about how all the preparation I do before the artist gets in the room for a vocal recording session or whatever. I want to make sure that the session and all the organization and everything is ready to go, so nothing is in the way when I get going. Now, you can sign up for my email list and download this exact template if you'd like to follow along and see what's going on. But right now, I have this as my starting place. And the first thing I'm going to do is import my 2-track. Now, I'm going to say 2-track because if you're don't have like a super pro setup where you can monitor real time with a full session that's got a bunch of plugins going on, what I typically do is I bounce out a stereo bounce of just my instrumentals that I have going on, and then I load up a new tracking session. This way it has no plugins on it, and it's just like super clean as far as like processing power, and it makes it so my monitoring and my ears is like right on, no latency. So the first thing I got to do is I got to make sure that my tempo is correct on this. So this song is at 85. And I like to have my grid lines off when I'm not editing because it's just a lot on my eyes. So to turn those back on, I'm just going to press this grid right here. I'm going to go find my 2-track, which is this guy right here. I'm going to drag it in. I'm going to make sure I'm in grid mode at first. And I know that this song in particular started on count 3. Now I'm going to go to slip mode here. I'm going to kind of find where my kick drum comes in, and I want to make sure, sometimes there's a little bit of drift when you bounce or whatever. I want to make sure I am right on my grid. So this is my first kick drum. I'm going to set my cursor right here. I'm going to press tab to transient, and you want to make sure this guy right here is on. I'm going to tab until I get to that kick. Now I'm going to press B to break. I'm going to delete everything before it. I'm going to click on this here. I'm going to press Command 0. And what that does is that adjusts it right to that bar line, exactly where it's supposed to be. Now I'm going to press Command 2, and I'm going to drag this back out to the beginning. And now I know that I'm right on my grid. And my click and everything will be exactly where it needs to be. So once I do that, I could turn my grid off. Unless you want to look at it, you know, if I am doing that, but I do like to just be able to see everything without those grid lines being in my way. Now, what I'll typically do is then I'll listen through my track and I'll get markers set up. And this just helps me when I'm tracking because I can see exactly what section we're on, and I can navigate my session really quickly without having to look. So I'll go through and I'll do that now. So once I got my markers straightened out like that, I can just make this track, you know, smaller, and we're ready to work. And I'm ready to start recording. What I'll do is I want to get the levels set. So I want there's 3 things I have to balance. I need to balance the track, I need to balance the click, and I need to balance their voice. And every vocalist is different on how much of their voice and how much of the track and how much of the click they want in there. So I'll just start playing the track back for them. And if they want more track, I start at -10. And I turn their volume up until they like the volume of the track. And then with their voice, if I'm input monitoring here, I'll put it in input monitoring. And then I'm just going to turn their vocal up or down depending on where they want it. And then I'll do the same thing on the click. I've got a click over here and I'll bring this up or down just depending on their preference. And what I want to be sure of is that the click is not bleeding through their headphones into the microphone, because that's a sure way to ruin your recording, and that sucks when that happens. It's inevitable. It is going to happen to you at some point in time, but just bear in mind when you record, just make sure that their headphones aren't too loud, that it's bleeding into the microphone, and just have a conversation with them about it. And sometimes they have to have it that loud, and you just got to figure out how to work around that, and that's okay too. But if you have your way, I would reduce that. Now when I'm recording, I like to have it, when I'm playing it back, I like to have the vocal sound like the record. Like, I don't want it to be like, okay, yeah, when it's mixed and everything, it'll sound good. You're going to lose them in the room. What I want is them to be inspired in the room to record, and I want them to feel comfortable and that it sounds amazing and they can trust me with the project. So I'm always going to set up a bit of a vocal chain, and I'm going to have some effects ready to go so that it just sounds the way we want it to sound right away. Now, in this template, I did that with just the stock plugins. It's nothing fancy. It's just some compression and a de-esser and some cleanup EQ. And then I've got some tuning on there, and then some effects that I can throw to and everything else like that. And if I need more effects, I'll put more effects in there, and that's fine. And I want to be, when I play back, I don't want to play it back dry. I want to play it back so it's sounding amazing right off the bat. And I will get a little more heavy-handed with like the plugins that I like to use on this, which you can absolutely do. And especially, if you did a 2-track approach instead of doing it in your session that already has all the multi-tracks and has a ton of plugins, I can get away with one vocal chain and to get going. And then I'll blend these to taste. So I'll just start turning them up and just get a vibe going. Now, I also want them to monitor that in their ears. So for me, I have a universal audio interface. So in the console, I can monitor real time. And what I like to do is I like to get a decent level here, but I want a ton of headroom. So even you can see my mic even right now is here, and I'll make this up later because I've got a really good preamp that's got a super low noise floor. But usually I'm 21 to 12. I don't like to be above 12 when I'm recording. It just gives me enough headroom if they do like to scream at some point, and I can always turn it up in the DAW. I'm not struggling against tape hiss or anything else like that. And then what I do is I send it to an aux, to both auxes here. I've got a reverb on one that I'll turn on, and just like some compression and EQ here. And I do that on the aux because it's just easier for me to balance this. Of course, I could do this on the channel, but this way I can just balance it. I don't ever have to worry about if I accidentally recorded it that way or not, because I do like to just obliterate the vocal with compression so that they can hear it. I want to hear every single detail when I'm recording. So I do some pretty heavy compression just in their headphones so that we can tell, even when they're quieter or whatever, that, oh, maybe it got a little shaky on that last note, or, I can always hear the pocket of their time and everything else like that, but it's not printing. And so I do that there with a de-esser as well. Again, just trying to make it sound amazing in their ears. Now, not everybody has a UAD interface, and I've set this up for that as well. So what you can do is, and this becomes increasingly important, that you do a 2-track so that you can keep your latency extremely low. And then you'll just put their vocal in input monitoring mode, and I would use this recording chain, like a stock plugin recording chain, because it's super low on computer usage, and it's not going to crash your computer or anything like ever. And I can get a nice same thing. I'm going to be cleaning up EQ here. I'm going to smash it a little bit here, smash it a little bit here, get a de-esser going, and then it's going to go into my plugins. And so all I would do is I'll just copy this over to a record chain. And I don't want to monitor the tuning, so I'm going to leave that here. Let's go over some basic key commands that are going to make me extremely fast in Pro Tools. Like first of all, I want to make sure on this AZ here in the corner, I want to make sure that's hit right here. It needs to be yellow. And then to zoom, it's R and T will zoom me in and out so I can be really fast there. I want to be Command 7, and this has all 3 of these tools here selected, so then I can trim and grab and move really quickly. Now, to record, I just press 3 on the number pad. You got to record, enable what you want to record, and then you press 3 on the number pad, and then you'll be recording. And then the 7 on the number pad turns on and off my metronome. So when I'm listening back, I don't want to hear the metronome. I just want to hear the vocal performance. So I'll turn off the click. Command 5 pulls up my memory location so I can easily navigate if I don't want to click here, or if I'm zoomed in, you know, and I'm like, all right, let's listen to it from the top. I can just do that. Command 1 brings up this window, and this is where I can set like my pre-roll. So if I want like a 2-bar pre-roll, I'll set 2 bars here. And to turn that on and off is Command K. And what that does is then if it's like, okay, we're working on the chorus, I can hit the chorus here. I'm going to press Command K and turn on my pre-roll. And when I press play, it's going to start 2 bars before that. And it'll start recording right where my punch-in is. So check this out. I'm just going to press record. And it starts recording there. Now the next question is like, oh, but what if they started singing before that punch right here? I can easily just drag that. It's recording my entire pre-roll, so it's going to catch anything that happens before that. So don't panic, but you do need to make sure that this quick punch right here is enabled. You want to make sure you right click it and make sure quick punch. I always record in quick punch. I don't record in anything else. It's just always set to quick punch. I don't even have to think about it. And this way, even if I'm not using my pre-roll and I just do a punch, even where I started playing it got recorded. So I'm never going to miss like, oh no, I punched late. You don't have to worry about that. It's recording the minute you start playing. So that's a huge major tip, is make sure you're in quick punch mode. So if I am recording, if I'm monitoring inside my DAW, I'm going to use this record track. And what I'll do is I will record, and they're monitoring through that. So I'll record track. Once they record that, say I like that, I'm going to select it, double click it, I'm going to press X, I'm going to press semicolon to move down to my lead vocal track 1, and I'm going to paste it. And then this way, this can always be set in input and record mode. So I'm always monitoring the vocalist, and then this is going to go through my chain, and this is going to be the takes that I keep and everything else like that. And then it can be going through a heavier duty vocal chain here. You know, I could put like a super fancy whatever my vocal chain is here for the day, and with some tuning and everything else like that, and it'll sound like a record every time I play it back. But I do want to use some like easy plugins on what they're hearing in their ears. And don't get it twisted, like these plugins, they sound great. Honestly, I use this EQ all the time. The Pro Q3 is not going to make the sound like 30 million times better. You should be able to use these plugins and get a good sound. So don't scoff at using stock plugins. They're great plugins. They're so powerful nowadays. Another thing to check if you are still hearing latency, I've talked about this in my other videos, is you want to go up here and you want to go to playback engine, and you want to make sure that your buffer size is as low as you can get away with. 128 is probably good, and you shouldn't hear any latency there. Kelly, the singer I have coming in, is going to help me out. I'm going to show you exactly what my recording process looks like. And yeah, on this as well, you'll notice I also have already... This says leadvox 1.01. I'm already starting at take 1. Typically, when you first title it, it's not going to have an 01. Okay, and I'm going to make some editing vocal videos that'll go over why. But basically, I want to know that take 1 is take 1, like labeled 1. And then my comp is going to be on the one that has nothing. So when I'm on this, this is going to be my comp. And I know it's my comp because there's nothing here. All right, so here, once I record take 1, I'm just going to press Control / this will be take 2, Control / take 3, and then we're going. And then I can just like rotate in between them right here. Here's take 1, so on and so forth. But I'm always starting my session before they even get here. It's just already on take 1. And that's just an organizational thing for me. And then if I'm doing background vocals, regardless of what my monitoring situation is like, it's the same thing. I kind of do it like a record track style. Like I'll just record on one of them and then copy it down the way. So it just makes it fast, because I don't want to be like pressing record on this. Okay, we got that, and then unrecord this, and then record this, and then okay, and then unrecord this, and unrecord. It's a lot of button presses. So I'll kind of do the recording track trick where I leave one track record enabled, and then I'm just recording on that and dragging and dropping where it needs to go. And I've just got a hard pan set up on all these BGVs so that they're already panned and I'm good to go. Again, I just want to be moving fast, and I want to be organized, and I want everything to make sense, and I want it to sound incredible from the minute they start singing. So let's grab Kelly, get him in here, and let's start recording and show you what this looks like real time.